named Samuel lived in a small, quiet town nestled between rolling hills. By all outward appearances, he was an ordinary man, mid-30s, short-cropped brown hair, a simple job as a teacher, and an unremarkable life. But what set Samuel apart from most people was the question that constantly gnawed at him. What if we are all divine? What if hidden inside every human being, there's a piece of God himself? From a young age, Samuel was obsessed with spirituality. Raised in a deeply religious family, he attended church every Sunday, listened intently to the stories of prophets and miracles, and prayed fervently each night. But as he grew older, something inside him began to shift. The stories felt distant, stories of a God who seemed far away, unreachable, and separate from the world Samuel lived in. This feeling of separation troubled him. If God was everywhere, as his faith told him, why did he seem so absent from daily life? Why did people continue to suffer, feel lost, and search endlessly for meaning? These questions followed Samuel through his teenage years and into adulthood, a shadow that never entirely left him. One day, after another sleepless night pondering the nature of existence, Samuel decided to take a walk. The sun had just begun to rise, casting a warm golden glow over the field. As he walked, his mind wandered. He thought about the world, wars, poverty, love, kindness, and suffering. And as he did, a strange idea began forming in his mind. What if God wasn't outside us? What if God was within us? This thought struck him like lightning. It wasn't a new idea. Many spiritual traditions, from Eastern philosophies to modern-day mystics, spoke of the divine within. But for Samuel, it was more than just a philosophy. It felt like a revelation. The more he thought about it, the more it made sense. He had always been taught that humans were made in the image of God, and that God breathed life into every living soul. But what if that wasn't just a metaphor? What if buried beneath layers of ego, fear, and doubt, each person carried a spark of the divine, a fragment of God? Samuel returned from his walk with his mind buzzing. He felt as though he was on the verge of something important, something life-changing. Over the next few days, he dove deep into meditation, spending hours sitting quietly, listening to the silence and reflecting on this newfound understanding. As he meditated, something remarkable began to happen. At first, it was subtle, a feeling of warmth in his chest, a sense of peace that washed over him. But as he continued, the experience deepened. He began to feel connected to everything around him, the trees outside his window, the birds in the sky, even the people passing by on the street. It was as though a veil had been lifted, and he could see the world for what it truly was, interconnected, alive, and divine. Samuel started to notice changes in himself as well. He became more patient, more compassionate. When someone hurt him, he no longer reacted with anger or resentment. Instead, he saw their pain, their fear, and recognized it as a reflection of his own. He realized that just as he carried a piece of God within him, so did everyone else. Each person he encountered was a mirror, showing him both the light and the darkness within himself. One afternoon, while sitting in his small apartment, Samuel had what he could only describe as a vision. He closed his eyes, and in the darkness behind his eyelids, he saw brilliant light. It wasn't blinding, but warm and inviting. The light seemed to expand, filling his entire being until he could no longer distinguish where he ended and the light began. And then a voice, gentle, calm, but unmistakably powerful, spoke to him. "You are not separate from me, Samuel. You are me. You have always been me. Every breath you take, every thought you think, every action you perform, it is all me. I am the tree, the bird, the sky, and the stars. I am you, and you are me. Samuel's heart raced. He wanted to ask so many questions about the nature of life, of suffering, and of love, but the voice continued before he could speak. You are here to remember, Samuel, to remember your true nature. You have forgotten, as most have, but now that you remember, your task is to help others do the same, to awaken the divinity that lies within them, to show them that they too are God. When Samuel opened his eyes, the vision was gone, but the message remained. It wasn't a dream or a figment of his imagination. It was real, more real than anything he had ever experienced. He felt a profound sense of purpose, a clarity that had eluded him for so long. In the days that followed, Samuel struggled with how to share this experience. He knew that most people wouldn't believe him, that they might think he was delusional or blasphemous. But he also knew that this message was too important to keep to himself. So, he began small. He started with his students at school. Rather than lecturing them about math or science, he encouraged them to explore their own thoughts, their own feelings. He asked them to consider the possibility that they were more than just physical bodies, more than their achievements or failures. He encouraged them to meditate, to spend time in silence, and to listen to the voice within. Some students responded immediately, embracing the idea with open hearts. Others were skeptical, resistant. But Samuel didn't push. He knew that everyone had to come to this realization in their own time, in their own way. Outside of school, Samuel's life began to change as well. He started spending more time in nature, walking through the woods, sitting by the river, watching the sunset. Each moment felt sacred, infused with the presence of the divine. He saw God in everything, in the rustling leaves, the flowing water, the warm embrace of the sun. Word began to spread about Samuel's teachings. People from all over the town started coming to him, seeking guidance. Some came with deep wounds, grief, trauma, loneliness. Others came out of curiosity, wondering if there was truth to what he said. Samuel welcomed them all with open arms, not as a guru or a leader, but as a fellow traveler on the same journey. He didn't preach or try to convince anyone. Instead, he simply shared his experience, his understanding. He told them that they, too, were divine, that they had the power to heal themselves, to find peace, to remember who they truly were. And slowly, one by one, people began to awaken. The town, once a quiet and sleepy place, transformed. There was a palpable shift in the air, a sense of community, of connection, of shared purpose. People began helping one another, not out of obligation, but out of love. They started seeing each other, not as strangers or competitors, but as reflections of the same divine source. Years passed, and Samuel continued his work. He never sought fame or recognition, never tried to build a following. But his message spread far and wide, touching the hearts of those who were ready to hear it. And as for Samuel, he no longer searched for answers. He no longer questioned the meaning of life or the nature of God. He knew, deep in his soul, that the answer had been inside him all along. "You are God," the voice had said. And now, Samuel understood what that truly meant. It wasn't about power or control. It wasn't about being separate or superior. It was about love, pure, unconditional, all-encompassing love. The kind of love that binds the universe together, that flows through every living being, that is the essence of who we are. And as Samuel sat on his porch one evening, watching the stars twinkle in the night sky, he smiled. He no longer felt small or insignificant or lost. He was part of something infinite, something eternal. He was God, and so was everyone else. We are God, and God is us. The universe is God, and God is the universe. So, of course, we are God. However, we are people, but it remains to be established scientifically whether God is or is not a person. Religions simply assert that God is a person. In particular, the Abrahamic God is quoted by Moses as asserting exactly that God is the universe and the universe is a person. According to Noetic Science, thoughts control the matter around you. So, if we think something, it will alter the universe around it in such a way as to bring our vision to reality. The more powerful our thought is, the less time it will take for the thoughts to change the universe. This is the reason why mass gatherings work out much better than a single person praying alone. The added benefit of all the people in a gathering results in a much faster change in the universe. So, we grant our own wishes. So, technically, if God is one who listens to our prayers and grants our wishes, it is yourself who is thinking them and altering the universe to make your wishes come true. When the Lord says, "You are God's," it means that God made man in his own image. In the same way that God rules the universe, providing, leading, and governing, God originally made man to be the ruler of this planet, having all the things of this world, like the fish and cattle, under his care and dominion. Man was made to lead this world, and God placed him here, in his own image, in the same way that the Father creates life. Indeed, man and woman were given the ability to procreate in their own image. Out of an act of love, they can produce another human being in their likeness. Subscribe for more videos. Thank you.